All right, back here in the studios now, I'd like to introduce Dan Marion, who's VP of Market Development and Growth for JJR Solutions, which is a Vector Prime company. You're a real guy. Okay, real prime right here in front of us here in Washington, D.C. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for the invitation.
Now, you were actually at the same summit that Tom Laney talked about today. Give us a perspective of being there as one of 64 Vector Primes from the Vector Prime perspective.
Great. Number one, it was an incredibly impressive conference. And the neat thing was, I think, my observation was, I think the VA learned and profited from the conference just as much as we did. Mm-hmm. And there were network roundtables where we could share with the VA our capabilities, and then they would in turn share with us. But even the very senior executives were in some bigger sessions. Some role-playing went on, and senior executives like Bill James, who runs the big chunk of the IT organization, actually engaged with the industry executives, saying, "Well, why do you think that, and how can we make our acquisitions better?" So it was really impressive, because if it was just left to industry, brief and industry, it would have been not very worthwhile. But this was incredible.
So there are presentations given by speakers, but in addition, there's a lot of interactivity one-on-one.
Yeah, at a surprising level that I haven't seen before. Mm-hmm. Usually it's the government communicates to a big audience, or the contractors are trying to pitch their thing. But this was a true dialogue that I think will enhance the solicitations that they issue.
What other experiences do you have out there from a Vector Prime perspective that you think are worthy of letting people know what these are going to be like? Because what Tom said is that he's going to be opening up those regional areas in the future, and we want to make sure people go to those. So give us some perspective of that.
In the first case, the registration process lets you kind of zero in on people that are of interest. So, for example, we're in Region 10, Michigan, Ohio, Indiana, mm-hmm. is where we're headquartered. So we were able to actually engage with the small business advocate in that area who told us, look, here's a procurement readiness worksheet that we would like you to fill out mm-hmm. to make sure you are ready. And I know Albert uses that terminology too. It's neat that the VA does as well. So we were able to engage with him, and then he in turn presented to the people that were interested in Region 10, here's where we're spending our money, these are the types of services, these are all of our locations, and as soon as you fill out this procurement ready worksheet, please come in and talk to me, but you need to get this done.
I see.
So all the steps that Albert's going to help the veteran companies go through out in California in February, that's what he wants to see. Are you in VIP? Are you registered? Have you done all those hoops?
What advice do you have for some of those subcontractors that are looking to team with you as a Vector Prime at JJR? Good question, because clearly we have a team set that we had won with. However, at the conference in St. Louis, we met many additional companies with really remarkable capabilities that would like to be on Vector teams. And from my perspective, we always want to bring our clients, the VA in particular, to enhance the health and well-being of veterans. We want to bring them the best people with the best experience, best certifications and credentials possible. And we believe that we can reach consensus on our team that if you bring those amazing capabilities, why wouldn't we want to bring that to the VA? Mm-hmm. And it may not mean that the pie is changing a little bit, but look, what VA needs, I think, is the most important thing. Give us an overview of what JJR Solutions does.
JJR Solutions advances the health and well-being of veterans and the security of the nation through support of organizations like the VA Office of Research and Development and Air Force organizations like the B-2 Bomber Program mm-hmm. and the National Air and Space Intelligence Center.
In those 6 categories, which ones are you in the Vector contract?
We're in category 1 and 2. So category 1 is management and improvement.
Right.
So program management, big acquisition management, agile software development. And then improvement is Lean Six Sigma and change management. And then the second one is analytics, like machine learning, both qualitative analytics and then quantitative analytics.
I see. I'm going to try to go back to Al now. Al, if you wanted to have some questions. Can you hear us back? I think you dropped off there for a second.
Yeah, Dave, I don't know if it was our end, but I lost video as well with the whole show. But Dan, listen, thanks for coming in from Ohio. Hopefully you got a chance to see Tom. the whole emphasis, even as the vector that Tom suggested, is variety of improved services for our veterans. We're looking forward to have you here in Oceanside, California, February 27, 28. Tell us, considering your experience in St. Louis, what do you want, and let's say you have, a wish list, what do you want us to do to enhance what you experienced just recently?
With regard to taking the best practices, what we saw in St. Louis, and bringing them out to California in February?
Absolutely, yes.
I think the network roundtable was a nice format. And so typically what you do is you'd sit across the table from a contracting officer, a program manager, or a small business specialist, and then I might represent a company and Tom might represent another company. And it was kind of neat because you had to be polite because you couldn't monopolize all the time, but it was amazing how much you learned from, you might really be a lot more mature than I am. So I'm sitting back and learning from you, seeing how you talk to the government, right? And so that was a really great thing. Rather than just one-on-one, it's helpful to have that mixture.
Great. I think I was speaking to Joe the other day, and the reality of veterans going there. You get to hear Stan Fuji here shortly, but we recognize there's three types of veterans that are business owners. Obviously, guys like you that are procurement ready and clearly demonstrated that with past performance. And then the startup may have some sales, but doesn't know how to navigate the landscape. And naturally, one of the biggest targets today is active duty service members exiting the military. What would you offer to these three types? Because what's key is exposure. Them watching you, talking to the buyer, and seeing how you manage that. How would you be able to express to these three types of veteran businesses, the patient factor? A lot of veterans are irritated that they think they ought to get a contract now, but there's dues to pay, time in the field, if you will. How do we better manage that from your perspective?
It might be just helpful just to, rather than having a whole spectrum, let's just, there's two ends of the spectrum. One that's pretty mature, that's been in business for a number of years, and probably you'd be approaching them as an equal. Hey, we've got some experience and some relationships, and yours are entirely complementary, and we should work together to go win something bigger, because the sum is greater than the parts. So that would be kind of a different conversation. As you know, we do have some Vector teammates that are just starting out, maybe just one or two people. And in that case, it's like your patriotic duty that you want to see somebody that obviously served their country, did a great job, and then now has had the courage to start their own business. And you think, well, we were there once, and it's really hard. And so it would be great to, because you're really going on that person's skills that founded the company. Mm-hmm. So get that person and bring her in and put her on a project and let her get some calls and start to build her capabilities. And as we grow, she can bring in another person, so she's got two, and then there's 3 and 4 people, and you get on a decent slope so that you're sustainable.
Any closing thoughts in terms of what you experienced out there, insights, takeaways that you think would be of value to the audience?
Number one, be prepared. And I'm not sure of the setup in coming up, but for the thing in St. Louis, we were able to identify the procurement decision makers that we wanted to get to see. Mm-hmm. And you've got a pick list, so you compare what are they responsible, what's their geographic area, those kind of things. Are they interested in buying what we offer? And then you want to get to build a relationship with them.
Right.
So I think preparation is really important, and build a list and execute the list.
Excellent. Any closing thoughts or questions for Dan, Al?
Yes, Dan, the last thought. I think I may have explained to you the Small Business Administration has the Veteran Business Outreach Center, and they've deployed the business boots to business model, targeting a lot of exiting service members across the country. As we reach those individuals, and they're coming in full force in the summit, and you haven't served and now been out for some time, you either are going to do it right when you get out, spend a lot of money, only to waste your resources. I mean, look in the camera and tell an active duty member, how to pace themselves, connect with folks like you and the systems and programs we established. What would be your words to them directly on before you get out, do X. What is X?
So I'll respond by focusing on a particular area. So the area that I know. So I know there's a whole world of veteran-owned businesses that may be doing plumbing or all those kind of things. My world has always been, services to either the private sector or the federal government, professional services, right? Improvement, digital management, and insight services. So my recommendation would be, I suppose you need to think of how you're going to sustain your business, right? In some cases, you may be a lone person that's really smart and the government really wants you back. And so you could start a company off kind of right away, and I've seen it happen. I think more often than not, I see veterans exit the service, get experience at another small business, see how it's done over time, and then go off on their own. And I'm an engineer, so maybe a little more conservative than others might be. And I certainly, that's kind of how I opted. I hung up my uniform, and changed my voicemail and came back to work, on Monday, as Mr. Marion, on the same desk doing supply chain analytics.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interstate Perspective. Well, Dan, we want to thank you again for coming out, flying out from Dayton, Ohio.
That's brilliant. Thank you.
And I hope you enjoy your time here in Washington, D.C.
Oh, I shall. Thanks.
And great perspectives for everybody. Michigan grad, too. You guys used to have a football team. Anyway, so I couldn't resist. Sorry. Anyway, thanks again for coming back. And if there's information and people would like to get in touch with you at JJR, is there a website they should go to?
www.jjrsolutions.com.
www.jjrsolutions.com. Thanks again. And now we're going to go to a special sponsorship interview with Serena Williams from Washington Defense. Hi, I'm Dave Gardy for US Vets TV from our studios here near Washington, D.C. in preparation for the September 27th Veteran Entrepreneur Training Series. And with me here in our studio is one of our sponsors and a veteran-owned small business herself, Serena Washington from Washington Defense. Serena, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me here today, David.
Give us an overview. What is Washington Defense all about?
So Washington Defense Corporation is an IT services and engineering services firm. We provide professional services to the federal government and to systems integrators across the Beltway in Washington, D.C.
Excellent. Now, what are some of the services and solutions you provide, and can you comment on any specific ones you specialize in?
Of course. So we specialize in systems engineering and advanced technology, IT professional services, staff augmentation, cybersecurity, and also 3D spatial design and planning. Some of the primary customers that we have are in the F-35 Strike Fighter program, where we staff for test pilots, virtual immersive trainers, acquisition analysts, cybersecurity professionals, systems engineers, software developers, policy analysts, and intelligence professionals.
Wow. So what's the value proposition you think that distinguishes you from your competitors and has resulted in your success?
The value proposition we offer is a STEM source selection board, which is in science, technology, engineering, and math. So we hire the most elite professionals. And by virtue of doing the STEM selection board, we can weed out a large majority of missed hires, which are very costly for corporations.
Can you give us an overview of your background and your military career?
I'm a 10-year Army officer, aviator, and military intelligence professional. So my MOS was 15 Charlie 35, which is a Black Hawk pilot and military intelligence analyst.
Excellent. Now, the company itself, what are the goals for the company in the near future?
We're planning on direct hire contracts. We're looking for teaming arrangements with primes where we can provide staff augmentation and our IT professional services support.
Excellent. So if people want to find out more about Washington Defense, where should they go on the web?
You can go to washingtondefense.com, and there is provided a support tab where you can explain whether you want to team, have defense consulting services, or want business development or staffing solution, as well as any of our defense consulting services.
Thank you. It's an excellent interview. I appreciate coming out to our studios. We've been talking to Serena Washington, who's the CEO and
Thank
founder
you so much, Dave.
of an interesting company called Washington Defense at washingtondefense.com. In preparation for the September 20th Veterans Entrepreneurship Training Series, I'm Dave Gardy here at US Vet Studios near Washington, D.C. Thanks for joining us.